Africa's minerals race. The global battle for the continent that powers the future. The next global gold rush is not for oil. It is not for gas. It is for minerals. And Africa is at the center of it. From the batteries that power electric cars to the chips inside smartphones, from wind turbines to military systems, the materials driving the modern world are increasingly coming from beneath African soil. As the world races to secure these critical minerals, Africa has become the most strategic and contested frontier of the 21st century. This is the story of power, profit, geopolitics, and promise, and of a continent that may finally decide whether its mineral wealth becomes a blessing or a burden. Why minerals matter more than ever. The global economy is undergoing a historic transformation. Countries are moving away from fossil fuels toward clean energy, electric vehicles, and digital technologies. None of this works without minerals. Lithium, cobalt, nickel, manganese, graphite, copper, and rare earth elements are now considered critical minerals, essential for economic security and national defense, but vulnerable to supply disruptions. And this is where Africa comes in. Africa holds over 70% of the world's cobalt, mostly in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Some of the world's largest reserves of manganese, vital for steel and batteries. Fast-growing lithium deposits in Zimbabwe, Mali, Namibia, and the DRC. Vast copper, graphite, and rare earth resources still largely unexplored. In short, no energy transition happens without Africa. The new global scramble. This minerals boom has triggered a new kind of competition. Not colonial conquest, but strategic rivalry. China, the early mover. China moved early and decisively. For years, Chinese companies invested heavily in African mining projects, infrastructure, and logistics. Today, China dominates not only mining partnerships but also the processing and refining stage, where most of the profits are made. In cobalt alone, Chinese firms control a major share of both extraction and refining capacity. The West pushes back. The United States and Europe are now playing catch-up. Alarmed by dependence on a single supplier, Western governments have declared critical minerals a national security priority. New strategies, financing initiatives, and diplomatic efforts are being rolled out, all aimed at diversifying supply chains and deepening partnerships with African countries. New players enter. India, Gulf states, Japan, and South Korea are also stepping in, seeking long-term supply deals to fuel their own industrial ambitions. Africa has suddenly become the most courted continent on Earth. From raw exports to real power. For decades, Africa's minerals followed a familiar path. Dig the ore. Export it raw. Import finished products at high cost. This system created wealth, but mostly outside Africa. Now governments are pushing back. Countries like Zimbabwe, Namibia, Ghana, and Indonesia's African counterparts are insisting on local value addition, processing minerals at home instead of exporting them raw. Lithium export bans, local refinery requirements, and joint venture rules are becoming common. The message is clear. If the world wants Africa's minerals, Africa wants jobs, technology, and industry. This shift could be transformative if it succeeds. The high stakes. Trillions on the line. The numbers are staggering. Global demand for lithium is expected to increase up to tenfold by mid-century. Demand for cobalt and nickel could triple. Copper demand is surging as grids expand worldwide. Over the next 25 years, revenues from key transition minerals could reach tens of trillions of dollars globally. For Africa, even capturing a fraction of that value could fund infrastructure, create millions of jobs, power industrialization, reduce dependency on aid and debt. But history offers a warning. Resources alone do not guarantee prosperity. The dark side of the boom. The minerals race also carries serious risks. Governance and corruption. Weak institutions and opaque contracts can allow profits to flow out while local communities remain poor. Bad deals today can lock countries into decades of lost revenue. Human cost. Artisanal mining employs millions across Africa, often in dangerous conditions. In some regions, child labor remains a deeply troubling reality, particularly in cobalt mining. Environmental damage. Mining can pollute rivers, destroy farmland, and threaten biodiversity. Without strong regulation, the green energy transition risks leaving environmental devastation in its wake. The challenge is clear: how to mine responsibly, profitably, and sustainably. Geopolitics beneath the ground. This minerals race is not just economic, it is geopolitical. Control of critical minerals increasingly shapes military readiness, energy security, industrial competitiveness, diplomatic influence. Supply disruptions can cripple entire industries. That reality is driving fierce competition and giving African countries unprecedented leverage. For the first time in decades, Africa is not just reacting to global demand, it can shape it. Africa's defining choice. The minerals beneath Africa's soil are not new. What is new is their global importance and Africa's bargaining power. The continent now faces a defining choice: remain a supplier of cheap raw materials, or become a central player in global manufacturing and clean energy supply chains. That decision will depend on leadership, policy, regional cooperation, and the ability to negotiate partnerships that align with long-term development goals. Conclusion: powering the future. Africa's minerals are powering the world's future. From electric cars in Europe to solar farms in Asia and defense systems in North America. The global race is on. The demand is real. The money is enormous. But the most important question remains unanswered. Will Africa finally win the race beneath its own soil? The answer will shape not just the continent's future, but the future of the global economy itself.